The Battle of Truth Against Illusion, Musa, A.S., and the Magicians of Pharaoh. The sun blazed over the vast kingdom of Egypt, its golden rays reflecting off the grand palaces of Pharaoh, the ruler who claimed divinity. He sat upon his throne, adorned in silk and jewels, surrounded by trembling advisors. News had reached him of a man named Musa, who spoke of a God greater than him, a God who demanded the freedom of the enslaved children of Israel. Pharaoh's face twisted in rage. He could not tolerate any challenge to his authority. He saw himself as the supreme lord of Egypt, a god among men, and the thought that someone would dare defy him was unacceptable. His chief advisor, Haman, stepped forward with a warning. The people were beginning to whisper about Musa's miracles, his staff turning into a serpent, his hand glowing with divine light. Some were even starting to doubt Pharaoh's power. Determined to crush this rebellion, Pharaoh issued a command. He summoned the greatest magicians in the land, men who had spent their lives mastering the art of illusion. They could make ropes slither like snakes, conjure false visions, and bend reality to their will. Pharaoh promised them wealth, land, and honor if they could defeat Musa in a public contest and prove him to be nothing more than a fraud. The magicians gathered in the grand courtyard of Pharaoh's palace, confident in their abilities. They had spent years perfecting their craft, and they saw Musa as nothing more than another challenger to be humiliated. Pharaoh stood before them, his voice dripping with authority as he declared that today they would prove once and for all that Musa's power was an illusion. The day of the contest arrived, and crowds filled the open square. People from all walks of life, nobles, peasants, and the enslaved Israelites, gathered to witness the spectacle. Musa stood firm, his brother Harun by his side, holding nothing but his simple shepherd's staff. The magicians, on the other hand, arrived with polished rods and coiled ropes, their confidence unshaken. Pharaoh raised his hand, and silence fell over the crowd. He turned to the magicians and commanded them to begin. With a smirk, the lead magician asked Musa whether he would cast first, or if they should. Musa, calm and composed, allowed them to proceed. The magicians threw their ropes and sticks onto the ground, chanting incantations passed down through generations of sorcery. The crowd gasped as the ropes twisted and writhed, appearing to slither like living serpents. The illusion was so powerful that even the strongest men flinched in fear. Pharaoh leaned forward, a triumphant grin spreading across his face. He declared to the people that this was true power, the kind that only he could command. The people murmured among themselves, some beginning to doubt Musa. Could he possibly overcome such a display? Musa felt a flicker of unease, not fear, but concern for the people being deceived. He closed his eyes and sought strength from Allah. Then Allah inspired him to cast his staff. Musa raised the simple wooden rod and threw it to the ground. The crowd fell silent. What happened next was not an illusion, not a trick. The staff transformed into a massive serpent, alive and real, its scales glistening under the sun. The creature moved with power and purpose, slithering across the ground and devouring every false snake the magicians had conjured. The magicians staggered back in shock. Their entire lives had been built on deception, but this was undeniably real. One of them fell to his knees, his voice trembling as he declared that this was no trick, but the work of the divine. Another followed, then another, until all the magicians were prostrating on the ground, crying out their belief in the Lord of Musa and Harun. Pharaoh's triumph turned to fury. He could not believe what he was seeing. The very men he had trusted to uphold his power were now bowing to another. His voice roared with rage as he accused them of betrayal, threatening them with the worst punishments he could devise. But the magicians did not waver. They had seen the truth, and no punishment Pharaoh could inflict would compare to the wrath of the one true God. They stood firm in their newfound faith, even as Pharaoh ordered his guards to crucify them, to make an example of their defiance. Yet their submission to the truth marked a turning point. The people who had witnessed the event were left in awe, their hearts stirring with the realization that Musa's power came from something far greater than magic. It came from the Creator of all things. Pharaoh, however, remained stubborn in his arrogance. He refused to accept defeat, and his cruelty only grew. But the miracle of Musa's staff had planted a seed of doubt among the people, a seed that would grow into a movement no tyrant could suppress. The battle between truth and illusion had been fought, and truth had prevailed. The magicians, once masters of deception, had recognized the undeniable power of the divine. And though Pharaoh's wrath was fierce, it could not extinguish the light of faith that had been ignited in the hearts of those who witnessed the miracle that day. The story of Musa and the magicians became a lesson for all time, a reminder that no deception, no matter how convincing, can stand before the truth sent by Allah. And those who recognize that truth, even in the face of tyranny, will find a strength greater than any earthly power.